Hello everyone, and thanks for watching our Stratosphere special on January 8th, 2023. Today, for our first video, we're going through the 10 HBA temperature predictions from the GFS on meteociel.fr, and we're looking for hints of an SSW towards the end of January, possibly the start of February. And if we do get an SSW, and if the blocking from the SSW sets up in the right place, say for example Greenland, Iceland, or Scandinavia, we would get a possibly a bitterly cold end to winter and start of spring. Right now, it's only a chance. It's a minor chance. The SSW is far from concrete, and even if we do get the SSW, there are so many places where the blocking area of high pressure could set up, and it could easily set up, for example, over Canada, and that would mean that the cold air floods out of the Arctic into America, that sort of area, into the Atlantic, but we stay on the mild side of the block with low pressure around Iceland, possibly down into the Azores. I bring up a mild southwesterly wind, so it can go either way, even if we do get an SSW. So this is it depends on a lot to get cold weather from an SSW. And a very good example of when we did go very cold from an SSW is back in 2018 when we got the beast from the east. Got a good week of bitterly cold, freezing temperatures, ice days, snow showers. Then, of course, Storm Emma came up and really spiced things up with all that snowfall. That really severe snowstorm back on the night of March 1st, 2018. So, it's all up in the air. It is far from concrete. I am not forecasting an SSW. We are merely looking for signals from one GFS run. Just to see what it's saying and, the likelihood of one. There are so many steps we have to go through for an SSW. So I'll start by explaining the charts. Now, earlier this week, we did record one SSW special, Stratosphere special. So if you would like to check that out, then please do. I go into the charts in a lot of detail there. But for now, I'll just give a brief little explanation of this chart. So you can see we've got these cold colours, as you can see from the blue and purples over Greenland, Iceland, America, Russia, parts of Russia, into the North Pole and Arctic. And this is the polar vortex at its roots. This is the cold temperature that fuels the polar vortex. And around this PV, polar vortex, we have the solar wind. And this cold pool, the PV, is an area of low pressure at 10 HPA, and around it we get the solar wind, which is a westerly wind, a very strong westerly wind because it's so high up that orbits the PV. And if you've got a very strong solar wind, it means that most likely on the ground you will get a very strong westerly wind. That's also called sonality because of the solar wind. So right now, this is very indicative of a strong polar vortex right now. Because right now in Ireland and the UK, we're seeing strong westerly winds, very unsettled weather. I actually got a thunderstorm with hail this morning, very early on, about 6 a.m. Big hailstones coming down, lightning, thunder, everything. So yeah, very representative of the current conditions in Ireland with a strong polar vortex. So if we go through the run, we can see we currently have a slight warming over eastern Russia into parts of China down here. If I go through, we can see that over Europe into parts of the Middle East, we get a warming. That's quite a significant warming, but it doesn't reach the required temperature for a SSW. For an SSW, you need to get the temperature above freezing. So this is marked by this red colour here. 0 degrees, you can see that there, and way up the scale. Anything in this sort of region is an SSW. Going through then, that warming, it penetrates slightly into the North Pole and the Arctic, but the polar vortex remains sort of intact. It goes a bit stretchy there. It looks like it might split around Greenland and Canada, but it doesn't really come to much, and the polar vortex just regains its strength then. Before we get another warming popping out of Siberia, and this one goes really quite major. That one that doesn't really come to anything much. It tries to get into the Arctic, but it doesn't really do so. But this following warming, you can see here, just coming out of Mongolia into Russia, that one really pops up. It blows up into a big warming. Now, we do reach the criteria for the temperature for an SSW, and you can see that by the end of the run, the peak temperatures are around there. We can see, if I zoom in there, over eastern Siberia, we're at 8 degrees at 10 HPA. That is right there, so near the end of the scale. That is really severe. Really, not severe, but very significant for warming. And that penetrates into the Arctic and the North Pole. You can see it moving. You can see the nice motion of the warming moving into the North Pole. Very, very satisfying for me to see this today, and it looks like it will be taking charge of the North Pole. And you can see these blue colours, the PV at its roots, that's being displaced very, very far, quite far away, south of Greenland and north of us, so in between Greenland and Ireland, probably over Iceland, around that sort of area, and over the Atlantic. So this is very interesting, but the GFS is chopping and changing run by run. Yesterday's GFS run did not show this level of warming. It sort of backed off the warming. So this is just one run. It could change. And right now, even though we have the temperatures up to the required level, so freezing or above, at an HPA, it doesn't mean that we have an SSW. There are more steps we have to go through. This core of the warm temperatures has to come into the North Pole. It's doing that, but will this PV, these cold colours, split? Will they split? That's the question. They have to split to say that it was an SSW, and also you need to reverse the solar wind. So the solar wind has to go below 0 meters per second. So basically, it just dies off and possibly goes to an easterly wind. Will that happen? And then we have to get the blocking into the correct position. So to get cold weather for us. So even if we do get an SSW, it doesn't mean that it's happy days for us. We got cold. We could go miles after an SSW, simply because the blocking sets up somewhere unfavourable for cold, like Canada, and gives America cold, but we say miles. So much is happening right now. So much to keep an eye on. I know for a fact that the ECM WF ensembles quite a few of them are reversing the solar wind into February. So I think that the chances of this SSW is increasing. Again, this chart, don't take it too seriously. It probably change. But yeah, quite exciting from this GFS run today. So that's it for this video. I'll be back later on with our normal update for the weather. Just going through the charts again. I'll see you later on for that this evening. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, and bye for now.